All right, we're about to open up a medical guide that's over 700 years old. But here's the thing, it's not for the body, it's for the soul. Today, we're diving into the incredible wisdom of the 14th century scholar Ibn al-Qayyim, who saw the human spiritual condition not as a mystery, but as a treatable illness.
So, let me ask you something. In our world, with all the wellness apps and self-help books, we're constantly trying to figure ourselves out, right? But what if all those things, the anxiety, the bad habits, that lingering feeling of emptiness, what if they weren't just a bunch of random struggles? What if they were all symptoms of one single, identifiable disease? And what if there was a clear prescription for a cure?
Well, that is exactly the premise of this masterpiece, The Disease and the Cure. The author, Ibn al-Qayyim, basically acts as a physician of the heart. And the framework he lays out for spiritual healing, honestly, it feels like it could have been written yesterday, not way back in the 1300s. So let's walk through his diagnosis.
Okay, Section 1, the diagnosis. Just like any good doctor will tell you, you can't treat something until you know what it is. And Ibn al-Qayyim insists on this. He argues that all of our spiritual struggles, the anxieties, the bad habits, the whole shebang, they're not actually the root problem. They're just symptoms of one single underlying disease.
So what is this disease? He defines it as a state of heedlessness, basically a deep and profound distraction from our real purpose. In this view, sins aren't just moral mistakes or slip-ups. No, they're more like the fever or the cough. They're the outward signs that point to a much deeper problem, a heart that's distracted and has forgotten what truly matters.
And here's a key way to tell if you've got the symptoms. It all comes down to two different mindsets. The book gives this brilliant analogy. The deluded person always prefers instant money over credit. They'll grab that immediate, fleeting pleasure right in front of them, even if it means sacrificing something far, far greater later on. The astute person, on the other hand, they get the bigger picture. They understand that this life is just temporary.
And to really understand the scale of that delusion, the book quotes this powerful prophetic teaching. Just picture this for a second. Imagine you walk up to the ocean and you dip your finger into the water. The few little drops that cling to your finger when you pull it out, that is this entire worldly life. The vast, endless ocean, that's the hereafter. So the disease, then, is being completely obsessed with those few tiny drops on your finger while totally ignoring the gigantic ocean right in front of you.
Okay, so we have a diagnosis. But what are the effects of this disease? According to the author, this isn't just some private, internal problem. Oh no. A sick heart doesn't just harm the person who has it. It has real, tangible, corrupting effects on the entire world.
And the text outlines some really severe consequences. It says that sins can reduce your lifespan, and, crucially, they erase the blessings from life. Things just don't feel as good or work out as well. It even says they cause literal corruption on the land and sea, which is a fascinating point, especially with our modern environmental concerns. Internally, they harden the heart, making it resistant to truth. And externally, they lead to a state of humiliation and lowliness.
To really drive this point home, the book shares this incredible little story. A giant seed was supposedly found in an old treasury, and on its sack was a message, "This used to grow during the era of justice." Just think about that. The implication is crystal clear. When humanity is spiritually healthy and just, the world itself flourishes and gives its blessings generously. But when we're spiritually sick, it's like even the earth holds back its bounty.
Now, that sounds pretty bleak, I know. But here's the good news. This is not a terminal diagnosis. The book is, after all, called The Disease and the Cure. So now, finally, we get to the prescription, the path to healing laid out by our physician of the heart.
And the remedy is presented as a really clear three-part treatment plan. First, sincere supplication. This means asking God for help, but not just with empty words, with a heart that's fully present and aware of its need. Second, repentance and forgiveness. You can think of this as a kind of spiritual detox, purifying the self from the toxins of past mistakes. And third, reorienting your love. This is the ultimate cure, shifting the heart's deepest attachments and affections away from all the temporary things and toward the divine. And the power of that first step, sincere supplication, really can't be overstated. The text shares an account of a man who prayed with such incredible focus and sincerity that the Prophet Muhammad himself commented on it. He said that this person had basically unlocked the secret to answered prayers. It showed that it was never about the quantity of prayers, but the quality of the heart's presence. So really, the whole thing boils down to this. The cure requires a fundamental choice.
It's just like a patient who has to choose between taking temporary painkillers or undergoing a difficult surgery that will bring long-term health. Spiritual healing is the same. It's a conscious choice to pursue lasting wellness over the short-term relief that the disease's symptoms seem to offer.
So, where does this path lead? If you take the medicine and follow the treatment plan, what's the end goal? The book describes it as achieving a sound heart. This is the ultimate state of spiritual wellness. So what exactly is a sound heart? Well, it's defined as a heart that is safe and free. It's free from associating anything else with God, of course, but it's also been cleansed of all those internal poisons that corrupt us. Malice, envy, arrogance, and that obsessive love for worldly status. It is a heart that has found true, genuine inner peace and connection. But what does a person with a sound heart actually look like? The book gives us these powerful real-world examples. Consider Abu Bakr, the Prophet's closest companion. This is one of the most revered people in the entire tradition. Yet his spiritual health gave him such profound humility that he said, "I wish I were a mere hair on the body of a believing servant." Just a single hair. That's perspective.
And here's another one, Umar bin al-Khattab, a powerful leader whose empire stretched across continents. As he was on his deathbed, was this powerful ruler concerned with his legacy, his power? Nope. His only concern was his standing with God. His final request was simple and incredibly humbling. Place my cheek on the floor, perhaps Allah will forgive me. That is the perspective of a truly healthy soul.
And that brings us right back to where we started. This 14th century guide diagnoses our core illness as a state of distraction. So the question for us today is this. In our modern world, a world that is literally engineered for constant distraction, what does it truly take to diagnose our own spiritual condition and to begin the difficult but absolutely essential work of healing the heart?